welcome to the Vocal Freedom Podcast. I'm your host, Lee Martin Thomas. Join me and my guest speakers as we discuss their journey with their voice and how they use it to support their passions and professions in media, education, and the performing arts. Welcome, friends. I hope you're feeling well today. My guest this week is singer-songwriter Curtis Culley. I have invited Curtis on the podcast to talk us through what it's like to be a young, ambitious and driven performer despite living with multiple sclerosis and other health conditions. In this episode, we get a look inside the struggles, the journey, the treatment, and Curtis explains so much more about how this demyelinating disease works. Curtis is a client I've been working with for around 8 months. He's also taking part in my pilot study as a test subject. So this episode is also getting to know him as life is at the moment. And we're going to welcome him back to the podcast after the 8 sessions to chat through if the practices have made a difference to his voice, general health and well-being. So welcome to the podcast. And what is it like to be you and how are you feeling?
Okay, what's it like to be me? It's quite crazy at times in my own mind, I guess. It's good sometimes. It's bad sometimes, just like everything else.
Yeah.
I recently just got married, as you know, which was one of the happiest days of my life, which was amazing. That was probably one of the best days I've had in a while. But yeah, just living each day as it comes, rather than planning too much, is what I kind of live by.
Certainly at the moment, I think we're all in that boat at the moment.
At the moment, and in general, like even before this, that's some advice I got from various people.
Absolutely. So living with your health, sort of, I guess I don't know if I want to say limitations, but I mean, how does your health issues manifest themselves in your voice work?
In my voice work, because I have a thyroid issue as well in that area, they tire quicker than normal, so you have to kind of pace yourself. Because of the treatment I've had, I have a permanent sore throat, like literally every day. I have a sore throat, so it's just become part of my life, and I have that numbing spray or whatever it is. What do you call it? That anesthetic or something?
Yeah,
but it's like a mild thing, and I use that when it gets too unbearable. But that's because of the treatment I've had. So I amaze myself every day that I start singing and continue to do it because of all the stuff that tries to stop me from doing it. MS for me has affected like my short-term memory, so I forget things really, really fast. And when you have to perform under pressure or like do anything under pressure and you have to remember stuff, it's well difficult. I find it really hard. I have to go through things a lot of times for them to get in my brain, like to be like, cool, I've learned it. Whereas I didn't used to have to do that, if that makes sense. Also speech and other things that are affected on like my worst days. Like I can't talk very well, and I find it very difficult to like engage in a conversation. So that's really hard when you got to do a gig and then you got to stand up there in front of people. So yeah, I find that really difficult. Yeah, that's probably one of the biggest ones that I struggle with.
Yeah, that sounds really tricky. I mean, if you've, and obviously we can't move gig days around. We do,
exactly.
You have to kind of go where the work is. And I can only relate to that on gigs where I know that I've been under par. You're sort of got to be getting over a cold, or you're going into a cold, and you've got to go there and show up and put that brave face on, and teeth and tits. That's what I used to be told.
That's it. No. Yeah, so that's another one. This is like the biggest one actually, because I have to play guitar. Like I've lost a lot of the feeling in my hands because of the nerves and stuff in my brain, because that's where MS attacks. I had to basically relearn to play the guitar. Like when I was halfway through uni, I was like, I literally can't feel what I'm playing. So I was just like, but I can still move my fingers, but I literally can't feel what I'm playing. So I'm like, I have no like, and to this day, like it's still never like it used to be for me. When I first started playing and when I was learning, I was really enjoying it, and doing it now, it's I can't do a lot of things that I used to be able to, like fast playing and stuff like that. So basically what I've had to do is simplify everything. Just make it all simple, like just play open chords, use a capo, and a lot of people do that anyway because you're singing. But like, it's just, for me, it's even more of a how can I make this as simple as it can be?
Yeah.
Because then I don't have to worry about it so much, you know?
I mean, like I was saying to you just off air, you've got my full admiration anyway, because you go out and you will busk with a guitar and sing. And as much as I can jam my way in front of a piano, if I had to busk it, I could busk it. But I choose not to because of that whole thing of being able to be in sort of full freedom mode with my voice. I find that really hard paired with an instrument. So I so admire musicians that can do both. And you're one of them. So, you know, you're getting the, I'm not worthy.
No, with that, it just takes time and practice and failing. And then you just keep doing it, you know?
Yeah.
A guy that I really look up to, he's not even a musician, just the way that he thinks about life and the way that he thinks about things is Gary Vaynerchuk. Have you heard of him? Gary
Yes, I have heard of him, yeah.
He if I feel rubbish or feel down, I just go on like his Instagram and just like flick for a couple of beers. I'm like, yes, mate, this is what I needed. And I'm like, cool, yeah, I'm
just real positive thought leaders.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's like accountability. So it's like I'm a massive believer in that. Like you own it. You know what I mean? You own it. And that's what I say. And my dad said this to me when I went in for my treatment because it was quite scary for me. He was like, I've got MS, but MS hasn't got me. So it's like, yeah.
Oh, I like that.
So that's what my dad said. And I was like, yeah, that's real true. I was I'm going to use it.
That's fantastic. I mean, I don't actually know a lot about MS, I'll be honest. Would you mind for our listeners and also for me a bit, just explaining a bit how it manifests?
Okay, I'll do the scientific
thing.
Yeah,
do that.
I done. Okay, so basically MS is your white blood cells, so your T and B cells, mainly they think, anyway. This is all because they don't actually know what it is.
Right.
But they know that your white blood cells attack your myelin sheath. So they go through the blood-brain barrier and attack your myelin sheath in your spinal cord or in your brain. And it can, they think they do it in certain areas, but they're not sure yet. So then you get scar tissue once they've attacked the nerve coating, which is there for the protection of the nerves. You get scar tissue, and then those electronic signals send into parts of your body, your brain, everywhere else, don't work as well. So that's why you get like a kind of, well, it is a disability. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
You get like, so, and you have these things at first called relapses, which is where the white blood cells attack. Then you have remission, which is where they're not, and then you heal. That's the first stage. And then if that is left untreated, you go into secondary progressive, which is not very nice. And you basically don't have any more relapses, but your disability just keeps getting worse.
Gosh.
But now that we have all these treatments available, it's not as common to go into that stage, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it does seem there's greater awareness these days. Of
Yeah.
this,
And the treatment is getting better every year.
That's fantastic news.
But there's also another thing called primary progressive, which is from onset, you have no relapses, so no visible scars on your brain or anything, but you just get disabled really, really fast, like really, really quickly. And I've met one person with that, and I was like heartbroken. It was absolutely horrible. But she was like the most positive person I've ever seen. So I was just like, wow. You're an inspiration to many, you know?
Absolutely.
But the thing is, it takes ages to diagnose, unfortunately. And it was like and for me, I didn't think it was quick, obviously, because I was going through it. But I got my diagnosis after 2 years of fighting so hard. And I gave up because I was so ill and my mum was fighting for me. And everyone was like, you're so lucky it was after 2 years. It took me 6 years or whatever. And then I was in a wheelchair and they still didn't know, you know? So
yeah,
I was just kind of like, wow. That's crazy.
Why do some people get this and some people not?
They know that smoking, if you smoke, you're more likely to get it. Apart from that, they don't know. They literally don't actually know.
Yeah.
Because I asked, I said, why did I get this? Why did this happen? Because I was a fit, healthy young dude. Like I was, you know, doing stuff. And
I saw a photograph of you the other day, Curtis, where it seemed to be you were in the splits with very, very long hair.
Yeah.
I was like, I never knew you when you looked like this.
So, I was, you know, a very active young person.
Were you a gymnast?
I did do it for a while. Yeah, a little while. But more so like the parkour, free running, flips outside, concrete sort of thing.
Wow.
But yeah, so that was me when I was younger. And then I was just like, how did this happen to me? Like, what did this when did this happen? Do you know what I mean?
Because you must have been absolutely full of vitality to be jumping around doing this kind of parkour stuff. Amazing.
So yeah, that's what I mean. And then to get that, it was a bit of a kick in the teeth, really. I was just like, what the hell? I've been healthy my whole life. I haven't done anything really. I haven't been couch potato-ish, And there's nothing wrong with couch potato. We all have the right to indulge at the moment.
We do.
But, so it was just a bit of a shock to me to get that diagnosis. Like, obviously, I cried a lot. This was 2017, 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
But I had all the symptoms for 2 years prior. And in men, it's a lot more fast. So if you don't get it, and once you have a relapse, you can't make that better again, if that makes sense. So once you have that disability, like you have it. Do you know what I mean? Like there's you can't.
So if you don't mind me asking you a bit more detail then, so you were saying that at the beginning you started that you playing guitar, you couldn't sort of feel what your fingers were doing on the strings? Yeah,
that was one of my, I think that was my third symptom. I was like, what the hell? I was like, I can't feel my fingers. Why is this happening? It's funny because me and my wife always joke because we have like opposite symptoms, like because she has MS as well. We just make light of it, you know what I mean? So yeah, just and
you're sort of balancing each other out.
Yeah, that's what we say. If we were one person, we balance each other out, sort of thing. So it's funny, but so that was like one of my first symptoms. My first one was I felt like I had a stroke. So like this side of my face and my body went completely numb, like the left side. And luckily, like in my upper body, it's kind of like gone away, but it still has less feeling because they do this test where they test all your reflexes and test all your feeling and stuff in the hospital, like a normal person would have compared to me. And then they compare the two, and my whole left side of my body is like not where it should be, if you know what I mean. Whereas my right side is still not where it should be, but it's a lot better than my left side. And sometimes like I can't walk very well because my left leg, I literally can't feel it. So like I'll fall over or something. Wow. I can't lift my foot off the floor on a really bad day, because that's another thing with MS. Why you have to take it day by day is because it is different every single day. You literally I've had to get comfortable with never feeling the same. I've never felt the same way every single day. And I guess nobody really does. But in a way, for somebody with MS, it's just so different. Like, and it's a drastic change. Like yesterday, I had a really, really good day. And I was like, oh, yes, I've got some energy. I can go out. I can do this. I can do that. And then today I was like, oh, I literally can't do anything. And I've had to just lay down and just do pretty much very minimal stuff. So yeah, that's why I always say you just got to take it day by day. You can't, but that's obviously hard to try and balance a career around being like, cool, just take it day by day. That's
it. Well, I mean, I guess you got to sort of make it first, haven't you? And then when you've got lots of money in the bank, you can just work when you're having a really good day.
I'm not there.
Yeah, we got to sort of get your lucky break first. Amazing. So let's have a chat about your getting into being a singer. So I knew a little bit about you from before, that you've been out there using your voice in bands for a few years now, but you started out as a drummer, I think you said to me.
Started playing the drums when I was 12. Yeah, my dad was a drummer and I'd always seen the drum kit around, so I just started playing on it. And I basically taught myself a bit, and then he taught me some, and then I just took it and got a couple of lessons to begin with. Then just was like, right, I want to be in a band. I'm going to grow my hair. Massive. Like Bon Jovi. Like, let's do this. And then I met my friends and I was like, this is awesome. And we done it for years. And that was all when I was like in my teens, so like 14. And then there was like a time when I was like, oh, I really love this Bon Jovi song. It's called 99 in the Shade. Mm-hmm. And I was like, James, which is listening, I was like, can you learn the drums so I can sing this one live, please? I was like, because I just love this song. And then I got a really good reaction from it when we played it. Like, people were like, this is wicked. Like, that's so cool that you just come out from behind the drums and start singing. And this is when I was probably like 16 or something like that. Yeah, and that was really, really, really fun time in my life. I'm so glad I have that to look back on, And then I went to college, studied like drums for a year. And then I was like, oh, I'm not really enjoying playing the drums anymore. And when we were in like rehearsals with people, like we had to write songs and stuff, I'd always be like, this needs to go here, that needs to go here, this would be good if you do that. And I was like, hang on, I could do this. So I was like, cool. I lost my granddad, so like he passed away, and I had so much emotion. I was like, people, I always hear that people write songs about stuff like this. So I was like, cool, I'm going to pick up a guitar, learn 4 chords and write songs, because all you need is 3 chords and the truth. So I was like, cool, that's the whole country saying, it, 3 chords and the truth. There you go. So I was like, cool. And I wrote that song, and then I played it to some people, and they're like, wow, that's really good. They were like, you could do this, mate. And I was like, cool. I was just like, maybe I'll give it a shot then. Yeah. And then I went traveling for a bit, went to Nashville because I love country music. It's like my favorite thing ever. I come back from there and I was like, I'm ready to do this. I was like, I'm ready to, seeing that kind of culture and seeing the music and seeing the thing. I was like, I'm ready to do this. So I bought the Brett Manning, what is it, Singing Success, I think it's called.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Singing Success.
I was like, cool, I'm going to do this every day, religiously for like an hour. So I was like, cool. And I just done that, annoyed everybody in my house, literally. They're like, shut up, stop squeaking away in the back or whatever. They're like, no, like, bless them. No, my mum and dad have never done that to me, even though they felt that way. But, like, I'd be working like in like a catering job or something, and I'd just like come in off, because we used to split shifts. I come in off my split shift and just smash out loads of vocals and just do these exercises, and then annoy everybody in the house, and then be like, see you later, guys. Just go back to work. But so that's when I started a duo, but I wasn't competent at playing guitar. I played the cajon instead, because I was like, yeah, I've seen people do that. I play the drums, can't be that hard. So I'd done that and just done harmonies for a good 3 or 4 years, I think. Just done backing vocals and just listened to stuff and be like, cool, backing vocals. And then it was a Daughtry song. And I was like, I want to do this. I was like, please, can we do this? And it's called Life After You. Yeah. And I remember that's one of the first ones where I was like, can I sing lead on this? I was like, can I try? Because I've been doing it. And then we done that, and people reacted really well to it. They were like, that's really good. They were like, cool. They're like, you've got a good voice, mate. You can do it. And I was like, cheers. Yeah. So after that, done that for a few years, and I was like, this isn't kind of working, I guess. And me and the girl that I was in the duo with, we kind of fell out. And I was like, oh, cool, I'm just going to do this on my own then. And I was like, cool, I'm going to go to London and study. So I done that, graduated last year, took loads of lessons when I was there with Rachel, you know Rachel? Yes. Rachel Black, and done loads of different projects. And I literally just wrote for anybody. I was like, I'm going to write songs. Let's write songs all the time. I was like, I can write a song about a curtain if you need it. You know, it's fine, I'll write anything. So that was me. And I wrote some really cool stuff. I wrote an EP for somebody. I wrote a couple of singles that have just been released for a girl in Sweden on a record label. So I was like, cool, that's good. And then all the while doing these function bands and stuff. Yeah. Then I moved back home to be with my wife. I was like, I'm done with London. It's a bit too much for me. And I was commuting back to see the little children and stuff as well. I was like, I want to just be around my family, especially having this illness as well. It's a lot. I like going to London, but I like coming away. You know what I mean? I love the atmosphere. It's great. Yeah, awesome. Really, really fast paced, blah, blah, and then coming away and being like, cool, that's all right. You know, for a period of time. And I'm very lucky that I live in Felixstowe and can do that. But yeah, so I've done that, and then I started the Busketeers, and was just going out busking all the time. Like literally just going out, playing anywhere.
Do you make good money as a busker these days? I mean, does that?
Yeah, I do anyway.
That's great.
Everyone always goes, I'm only making like £2. I'm like, mate, you're not doing it right.
Yeah, that's right. You're not doing it right.
like this is fun, and we're just playing in the street. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's literally, and it's the best practice in the world, because everybody and no one is paying attention to you.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. Yeah.
So like, that's what I always say to people. I'm like, this is the best practice you could ever get, because you're in front of everyone, but no one's paying attention, but they might be. You don't know.
This is, I see. I've had gigs like that where I've done like solo. I know it sounds soul destroying, but I actually don't mind these for that reason, because it is about how you perceive what's going on. Yeah. And what might be to some people a really sort of like, deflating gig where you're set up in the corner with your one person PA and your backing tracks and your mic and your lights. And some gigs, you're not there to be taken notice of. You're there to create an atmosphere. And those for me were actually some of the most freeing gigs, because like you say, you just have the best time, because you just like, you can be completely free. And
yeah. Oh, I also left out that in uni, I went on tour with a country music band.
Ah.
We went kind of around the country. Oh, I was joint lead singer and rhythm guitar.
Oh, right.
I was in a duo with a guy called Tim. Nice guy, really nice guy. Yeah, we went around the country. That was fun. Doing original stuff.
Yeah.
So that was the first time I've ever been around. Made no money.
Yeah.
playing festivals and food festivals and gigs where there was 2 people there.
Yeah.
So that was a really interesting experience. I've just been around. I've tried to live my life in the most positive, impactful way on other people and myself that I can.
Yeah, and that comes across. You get a lot of love on Facebook and stuff. I can see you've got a great, a great network of people around you, which is fantastic to see. It's really good. So what do you find now? Obviously, I know that you've got all these, this other health issue to contend with at the same time, but do you have anything that you would pass on to people that you find most valuable in caring for your voice now?
Always warm up. Always warm up. Even if it's like 5 minutes or anything, always warm up. I've done gigs where I haven't warmed up and I'm like, this is the worst thing. I should have warmed up, Yeah. I know a lot of people, a lot of singers and a lot of musicians are like, yeah, you don't need to warm up. You can just do it while you're out there. And you're like, nah, not really. If you want to be a professional, like every professional warms up. You know what I mean? Like I take it as like, the MMA fighters. They don't just go out there cold. You know what I mean? They're in the back, they're warming up, they're stretching, they're doing this. You know what I mean? Like, and boxers and everything like that. They don't just go out there like, yeah, cool, just warm up when I'm out there.
Yeah, that's the right attitude. I mean, the other thing as well, you can go, I suppose it does depend what you're singing. Because, some guys that I've known on the circuit over the years, with the set that they're singing, they don't really need to warm up because they're not stretching themselves that much. If they're just going to sort of stay in that kind of modal register and drone on, which isn't the sort of gig I would ever stay at. But
no, that's what I mean. And it all, for me, it comes down to risk because I see people and they always play it safe. That annoys me personally because I'm like, that's kind of boring. You're just like sitting there singing in the same register at the same time. And I'm like, I don't want to listen to this anymore, really. It's not exciting or not doing anything for me. But it has its place.
Yeah.
I am known as a person that takes quite a big risk because having my treatment is quite a big risk. Like, it's like, that's what they said to you. They were like, to me, because you get offered, I think it's nine different treatments, right? And they're like, you need to weigh up what sort of person you are. Are you a high risk, high reward? Are you a low risk, not low reward, but kind of it's not as going to be as good as the high risk,
Yeah.
And I was like, the thing that swayed me the most is like, yeah, you might not be able to walk when you're 30. And I was like, yeah, okay. I'm going to take the highest risk other than the stem cell therapy because I was like, no way, I'm not going to do that. Which is basically you literally have your whole immune system wiped out rather than just your white blood cells. And then they regrow your immune system through stem cells and you have to be in quarantine for at least 2 weeks. So you can't see anyone, you can't go out. You're in this little room.
Wow.
And then, I was like, I'm not going to do that.
It does sound like some, my mind's going, but it does sound like some interesting science because I guess that must work for some people.
It really is. But with that, there's a mortality rate that was like, oh dear, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, that sounds...
because of that, you know what I mean? Because if you get ill or something, it's pretty damn... With mine, it still was, but it wasn't as bad because I still had some of my immune system. They only wiped out a little, a proportion of it. Still quite a big proportion, but not as much as that one. It's funny because they said to me on my first round of treatment, they were like, you're going to feel the worst you've ever felt for the next 3 months of your life. And I was just, and it's funny, I felt the best I'd ever felt in 3 years for those 3 months.
Isn't that interesting? I wonder why they put that in your mind, because that's sort of like, I've just...
Because most people, like,
most people would.
You just had your white blood cells killed, you know what I mean? You're going to feel terrible. But I felt great. And then it was as if they'd grown back, because it takes 3 months for them to come back. As soon as they come back, felt terrible again. After 3 months, literally, like it was like on a clock. It was just like terrible again. So
is that treatment, was it like the treatment lasts 3 months? You have
No,
to keep having
it lasts for the rest of my life now.
Oh, it lasts for the rest of your life now.
Unless I have another relapse.
Yeah.
But mine, I had a relapse in between because it's 2 years apart. So you have 1 year, wait a year, and then have it again. And then hopefully you don't need another one because you've had it. It's done. You've kind of stopped the progression of it. Some people go on and need a third or fourth round. I'm praying I don't, and fingers crossed I haven't yet. But in between them both, I had a episode of relapse, and my eye now is all funny. You won't be able to notice it because it's not noticeable, but when I turn, this eye just wobbles, and it's really annoying, and then it comes back so I can see again.
Does your vision go funny when that happens?
Only for a split second in my left eye, and then it just like stops. It's weird, but that was what in between my treatments. Fingers crossed. Since then, though, I've had a few flare-ups, but which is completely different to. Yeah, it's really complicated, actually.
Yeah, it is, isn't it, when you have to talk about
so like a flare-up is like you get old symptoms that have kind of got better back, basically. Yeah. So like I had a flare-up. My eyes literally, like, I go so I can't really see that well. They literally just go. So I'm like, got all these fuzzy things floating around.
Okay.
I was kind of like, babe, I'm having a relapse. Like, to my wife, I was just like, oh my God. I was like, what's happening? And I spoke to a nurse and they were like, have you had this before? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, yeah, it's not a relapse. It's just a flare up. And that's when I had a fever of like 90 and it was just like staying there. And then I was like, I've got COVID. Oh my God, I'm going to die. And all this stuff. And I had to go to hospital, but it wasn't. And I was fine. But yeah, so that's basically MS in a nutshell though, really. It's not nice. It's
not nice. And, we obviously, I'm hoping that obviously medical science will keep progressing and looking into all the things that can be done to relieve any symptoms. But I think what you're saying, obviously, is if it's every day is a little bit different, you've got to just deal with your symptoms daily anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
What are your sort of things that you can do to keep yourself on that good track, or does it make no difference what you do? So it's just...
There's literally like, I could eat the healthiest stuff, because this is what my mum's a very sort of like natural health kind of woman. And I love her for it. She's like, you need to eat more of this. I'm like, Mum, I literally eat so good. Like, it's literally not that. Do you know what I mean? And when we went to the hospital, they're like, there's nothing you can eat. There's nothing you can do. It's literally, this is what it is. You know what I mean? So that kind of put my mind at rest a little bit-ish. But yeah, it's just so random. Like, that's why it's so hard to deal with. And so at the start, it can make you have really weird outbursts. So like, I would literally start laughing at something that's just really not funny, or something that's really, really like, you shouldn't be laughing at that. And I'd just be absolutely like wetting myself sort of thing. And like cry, overly emotional as well. It affects everything in your body. Like, it literally does. And it's such a weird thing. Such a weird thing. Like, I never thought in my life when I was younger that this would happen to me.
Yeah, of course. No, you can't imagine these things. I think it was something that someone said to me years and years ago when I started to learn about karma. And I think karma gets a bad name because people always think of it as what goes around comes around, and that in some way it's always the negative. It's always that if you do someone wrong, then something wrong will be done to you. It's not really to do with that, but I did learn it around the same time I was learning about karma. And it was that the hardest lives are given to the strongest souls. And
that's what everyone always says.
Yeah. And
actually, like, my friend said that to me the other day, because I was saying how crap I felt. And I was just like, this is just terrible. And he was like, yeah, it couldn't have gone to a stronger person. I was like, mate, I don't feel strong today. But there you go,
Yeah, so I know there's kind of strength, and then there's a kind of unseen strength, maybe the unseen strength of what the juice on the inside we don't know how to describe. Someone said to me, got a friend of mine said to me last week that, and I haven't looked at the science on this, but apparently if you weigh somebody on their deathbed moments before they actually die, and then you weigh them again moments after they've actually been termed clinically dead, they're lighter. So the logical explanation is that as the soul leaves the body, or whatever it is that powers us, the light or whatever, our essence, our energy, our chi, our life force, whatever you want to call it, that we leave our shells of a body and what do? We go off somewhere else. I just wondered what you thought about any of that stuff. Is that just gaga?
that stuff. See, that's very interesting. Ooh, that's difficult.
I'm not saying I believe one way or the other either. I'm just saying I was told this and I thought, oh, okay.
Yeah,
what does that mean?
I don't know what to believe.
Yeah.
Is my answer. There's so much information on a lot of things. I don't think we will ever know, because if we knew, how unexciting would life be?
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, I know what happens now, so what's the point?
Yeah.
It's like, I get it. We go here. It's fine. Do whatever I want now, you know? But we may one day know, but I don't know. I think there's a reason why we don't, personally. It might be a really terrible reason, like we're controlled by a superior race and we're in a thing. Do you know what I mean? One of those
the Matrix. We're in the Matrix.
I mean? That might be the reason, but at the end of the day, there's a good reason.
There's certainly a lot more out there to what we can possibly conceive of.
Yes, there is.
There's more than we know.
And I think everything happens for a reason, but we are that reason. If you know what I mean? That's what I say, because everyone's like, oh, you got to think everything happens for a reason. I'm like, no, I don't have to think that if I don't want to. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you don't have to think
like
anything.
A lot of people have said that to me, and I'm like, nah, like I don't have to think that if I don't want to. But yeah, I believe that we are in a certain amount of control, but I don't think we're in 100% control. Do you know what I mean? And that's just my opinion. I'm not going to...
Yeah. No, that's okay. You don't get marked on it.
Anyone else try and view that in that way? Because I'm not like that. I accept everyone's point of view, even if I don't agree with it. It's like, that's what makes humanity human.
Absolutely. Well, that's great. I mean, that in itself is just expressing someone who's open-minded, because you're not saying this is how it is and everyone else is wrong. And that's...
You'd be foolish to think that this, you know.
Absolutely.
That's why I don't agree with people like, well, I'll say it how it is. It's like, no, you say it how you see it. You know,
how it is to that person is not necessarily how it is.
You say it how you see it, and that's it.
Yeah. I mean, me and my daughter, she's 19 and knows everything, you know? You know, when you're 19, you kind of feel...
What a wonderful place to be. I remember that, being there.
Yeah, I do remember being there as well. And, you know, having some tricky years with my own mum, because I don't know what it is. It's that beginning of starting your adult life when you get to make all of your own decisions, and, you know, your choices are your choices, not what your parents chose for you or whatever. And but I tell you what's really funny is that I can't reach out to her in the same way I can with people I work with, because she doesn't want to listen to me because I'm her mother. So literally it feels like everything I suggest, sometimes there's this contrary just for the point of it. Well, actually, no, I think this. I'm like, oh God, it's such a battle.
I used to be like that. I remember that.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? But I just think it's great to question and ask questions, and it's okay to change our minds, and it's okay to just say, look, we're all learning as we go through this wonderful thing called life. Now then, here's a question for you. So I'd like to ask you, whose voices inspire you, and who could you never tire of listening to?
Wow, there are quite a few of those. But I have prepared myself for this question. Yeah. Okay, so one of them is Chris Daughtry.
Yeah.
I have listened to him pretty much most days ever since I discovered him a few years back. Incredible voice. His songwriting too, because he writes all his own stuff with people. Absolutely amazing. The way that he puts things across is incredible. There's a song called Witness. You should check it out if you haven't heard it. And listen to the normal version, then the strip version, because the strip version is 50 million times better. I think I'm just like, it's just, that's what it needed to be. You should have released that one, mate. But yeah, no, that always gets me really emotional. His voice always makes me feel something, you know. For like the technical aspect of singing would be Shay, which is from Dan and Shay. He is literally like, wow, like how do I get that good? Like, because it's like incredible. Who else? There's so many. The guy from Fun, just because his range is just like, does he even have a limit on his range? Because it's like mental. And I went to see them in Norwich with my mum, and that was a really nice experience. And they split up shortly after that. They were like, yeah, we're calling it a day for now because we want to go do other things. So I was like, wow, we actually got to see them. So that's really really, really amazing. Someone I haven't seen live, but who is really inspiring and just incredible at singing is the guy from Rascal Flatts, Gary Levox.
Oh, yeah.
He is just like, wow. Like his vocal agility, like going low and really high and everywhere in between and all that is incredible. I'll tell you, this is more of a singer-songwriter perspective, but I saw this guy called Charlie Warsham at the Country Festival in 2015, I want to say. And I went on my own, and he was up there just with his guitar in front of all these people. And he was singing this song. I'm trying to think the lyrics, but anyway, he done the song, and he forgot the lyrics.
Okay. And
he just was like, whoops, oh dear. And then carried on playing. And like, he didn't even care. And I was like, that's real, man. He was like singing. And I preferred that. I love Carrie Underwood, bless her soul, but she was headlining, and I went into the main arena to see her. I preferred seeing him because he was more real, whereas she was all rehearsed, all the dance moves and everything, which is cool.
Yeah.
But when he played the song and he like captured the audience, and the audience finished the lyrics from, they're like, yeah, it's this, mate. And then I was like, that is just awesome. He wasn't like the best singer, but he was just himself.
Yes.
Know? Somebody who I work with, who I'm inspired by, is James Boucher. Like
tell all our listeners about James, and obviously James will hear this.
Yeah, I hope he does. Obviously. But no, he was the lead singer of my band for many years, and he's kind of like, no, he hasn't given up on music, but he was like, oh, I'm never going to be like a great singer. I'm never going to be like. I had this conversation with him the other day. He was like, oh, I've just accepted that I'm just going to play covers. I'm going to do this. I was like, you're stupid, man. I was like, you're ridiculous, mate. So when you watch this, James, mate, you're silly. But, just because like he's worked so hard. Like he's like, I've got recordings of us back in the day. Bless us, we're 14, we're rocking out, and we're, not great, but still we thought we were amazing. You know what I mean? That was the thing that counts.
You had the passion.
Yeah, and now he's put in the work, so he's incredible. Like he can sing Living on a Prayer in the original key and just like smash it, like without like even trying. And I'm just like, like, how do you do that? So yeah, he's incredible, and he's someone I've looked up to vocally for pretty much my whole life. Like the way that he approaches it, he's so chilled out with it all. Like when he sings, he rarely makes a mistake because he knows where everything needs to be. He's rarely flat. He's rarely anything. He just knows where it needs to be for him.
It's great.
So yeah, definitely him.
It makes a real difference when whether it's a famous artist or your best mate that you sing with down the pub. It makes a difference when someone trusts their voice, because if you're singing and you're trusting your voice and you're free with it, you'll be able to do a lot more with it than the person who's like anxiously holding the microphone, shaking, going, oh my God, I can't do this. Oh my God, I'm not good enough.
That used to be me.
That is, you look at it now though and you go, it's no wonder that it wasn't flexing so easily. Yeah, with all that tension in the system. So it's really good to, I think you, like you say, your family and your wife, now they're coming to, well, obviously just before we went back into Tier 4, going to see you in a gig and saying you seem more at ease in yourself. You're coming across more relaxed and like you're having fun. And I think that's the important thing for anyone I work with is that, I mean, there are times when you go, this is a job, maybe it's an audition or I've got to get somebody ready for something that is a job. But, I want those people to really enjoy what they do. And when you bring joy into the room, people want to work with you at the end of the day, don't they? They don't want to work with miserable bastards. So,
exactly.
So no, I might bleep myself there.
I also, when I was at uni, I was fortunate enough. We literally, I was in a duo with a guitar player, and I play guitar too. We just done a gig in West London, Richmond, I believe, something like that, somewhere. Traveling back to Suffolk because it was like weekend home, so we just done a gig. And my mate sent me this. He was like, dude, you need to audition for this. Like, it's right up your street. It's like to go to Nashville in a band. And, mate, you need to do it. So I was like, I was a bit hungover because I used to drink back then too. Mm-hmm. So I was just like, all right then, cool. So I like turned on the MacBook, like got my guitar. I was like, what can I do? I can do a couple of songs. So I was like, George Ezra, Blame It On Me. Let's do that. It's really easy. I can sing that really easily. Sent off the audition tape. Didn't think I'd hear anything back at all. So I was like, that's fine. Couple of days go by, Nothing. So I was like, oh, cool, just forgot about it. And then a week later, I got a message back saying, hi, Curtis, we got your audition tape. We'd like to offer you a live audition. You got down to the last 30 out of 300 people. I was like, what?
Yes.
I was like, hungover audition tape got me down to like the last, 30 out of 300 people that get a live audition. And it was in front of the people that organized the CMAs in America. Amazing. Like, that's the biggest country music festival. And I was like, what? I was like, oh my God, I get to play in front of these people. I was like, this is insane. So long story short, I go to the audition. It's in London. It's in like a massive studio and a huge thing. And I was like, oh my God, this is mental.
This is terrifying.
Met some really nice people there too that I still keep in contact with now.
That's cool.
And I've done the audition, and I got some really good feedback on it. They didn't end up doing the TV show because it was for a TV show, but they didn't end up doing it in the end for some reason. So nobody got it, but I was like, I don't care. I met somebody.
Yeah.
Amazing. So I was like, this is cool.
It's great. It's a great experience, isn't it?
Yeah. And that kind of, what I would say too is whenever I've lost faith in myself or lost faith or I'm about to be like, that's it, I'm calling it a day now. Something happens that keeps me going. It's just like a thing. Whenever I'm so close to giving up something happens to be like, no, don't do that, mate. You know what I mean? It's weird. I'm not like one of these superstitious people, blah, blah, but that always is the case. There's always one of those things that is just like, don't give up. Let's go.
There's got to be a sign in there then, hasn't there? Somebody's keeping you in line.
I don't know about that, but it's just what it is. It is what it is. For some reason, that always happens. So I'm like, okay, I'll just keep going. You know what I mean? And that was one of them. Because I'd played that gig and I was like, that was annoying. I didn't really want to. I was like, oh, this is like, I'm not enjoying this anymore. You know, I was just like, we played that gig. And after that gig, I was just like, I'm not really happy with this. What's going on, sort of thing. And I wasn't in a really good place either, obviously, because of my MS and I hadn't been diagnosed then.
That's tough.
Whenever I'm close to giving up or close to being like, oh, just throwing the towel, mate, it's all good. There's always been this one thing that just goes, just a little spark in there, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess I don't know what you call that, but it's always been there. Like,
I don't know what to call that either, but I do think it's, I suppose, partly you must know in yourself, like deep down, that you're drawn to music. You're drawn to making it, producing it, writing it, singing it, performing it. Yeah,
I mean, I've had a bit of a break from recording, or actually I've been writing, which is cool. I haven't been writing in a while, but I don't know. I always wondered to myself, what would I be like if I didn't have music? Like, I'm just like, because I literally, like, I'd come in here every day. This is like my space to practice and do everything every single day. So I don't know what I'd be doing.
Too.
And I don't know what else I'm all right at. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not one of these people that's like, yeah, I'm amazing, but I'm like, I'm not rubbish. Do you know what I mean? I'll put in the work. I'm trying to outwork my own doubt, which is what I always say to people. That's my favorite saying, outwork the doubt, you know?
Yeah.
And your own thing. So that's what I've been doing, and you've helped me do that with your lessons.
Oh, bless you.
But so I always wonder that. I'm like, what would I do if I didn't do music? And then I feel this really like emptiness inside when I feel like that. And I'm like, oh, that don't feel good. Regardless of anything, like if I get pissed off for playing guitar, pissed off singing, or pissed off whatever, and don't work, I'm like, that just can't happen. Like,
that just can't happen. I couldn't live without it.
You know.
Absolutely. No, I think it's once it's part of you, it's part of you. Because I mean, even if you did say, I'm going to quit and go and get a job as a working in a store or in a company or something.
I've done it.
You've done those things, yeah.
I've done that and be like, yeah, I'm not doing it anymore. And then I'm like, there's always that little thing that's like, you need to do it. And I'm like, okay, maybe I do.
Maybe you've just got this massive hit song in you waiting to come out. You know, this will be well, you only need is one hit song and it's a life changer.
That's very true. I agree with you there. That's very true.
Have you had anything that you believed to be true about your voice that you've since discovered wasn't true at all, and that you can do something that you kept telling yourself you couldn't do?
Yes. Mine would be hitting certain notes. Like, I forever was told when I was singing back in uni and other things, they're like, nah, sorry, you won't be able to do that because you're this type of voice, or you're that, so you won't be able to do it. And now I'm like, yes, I can, mate. Because I can smash it. I'm like, oh. Like literally, I was like, oh my God. Like I can, like I went out today because I was singing that Weekend song and it goes up to like a high C and I can do it. I was like, I can do it. Like I was just like, what the hell? Like I was like, this is so cool, you know? So yeah, I just think, yeah, that was a light bulb moment to kind of not put yourself down before you even try.
Yeah.
That's a really massive one. Like when I heard that Weekend song, I was like, oh, this is really high. But I was like, do you know what? Just give it a try. Don't matter. You can change the key if you need to. It don't really matter. But I haven't, you know? So it was that. Also that singing, like using twang, like sounds bad. Like everyone used to say that to me. They're like, no, you're singing too nasally. You're not doing that. And then I've like recorded myself loads and I was like, that don't actually sound that bad. And I know when I sound bad, if you know what I mean. So I was like, that actually sound bad. And it actually helps with the pitching, you know? So that was another thing. Another thing is you don't have to belt everything. Like,
who knew?
Everything is not a struggle too.
Yes.
Everything is not a struggle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And going up in the high notes don't need to be a struggle. And that's, and even when you're having a crap day, that's another thing that I've learned from you is you can use a thin fold, make it sound-ish similar, and you're ready to go. So you can still hit these high notes when you're feeling rubbish or when you're not. Do you know what I mean? So like if I'm having a bad day and I'm like, oh, I need to go and perform. I used to be like, oh my God, I'm going to cry because I can't do this anymore. Now I'm just like, cool, I can just use thin fold, give a little bit of distortion, give a little bit of grit or something, and then it'll do the job. You know what I mean? So, and that's kind of the whole like eureka kind of like, you can sing.
You can sing no matter what condition you're in. I mean, obviously there are times where I would say, you know, don't do it today.
What I mean is for me is because I'm ill all the time. I'm literally ill every single day of my life. Like I say to people, they're like, oh, you know, how you feeling? I'm like, I'm ill. I literally feel crap. Like I can't even describe it. And that isn't me being like, oh, I feel sorry for me. That's literally me being like, that's my life. That's what my life is. My wife's the same. You know, we just feel terrible together and it's fine. You know what I mean? And we you know, that's how we live and it's not a cry for sympathy. But, you know, so that's how I've had a light bulb moment for me is like, you can still, no, what was it? Anything worth doing is still worth doing poorly. And I heard this saying the other day and I was like, that is so true. It's like, if you can't bear to because you're in so much pain, you can only brush your teeth for 30 seconds. It's still worth doing. Because you're still doing it for that 30 seconds rather than not doing it at all. You know what I mean?
Yes,
so
I do.
That's what I live by now. Also, this one as well. It's okay to change the key if you're not feeling great. Yeah. Fine. Like, it's not the end of the world. I mean, you don't have to be Freddie Mercury every song, every day. You don't have to.
And also, you know, when you think about, I always say this to people, right? When you think about the performances that you've witnessed that have moved you, have you ever been moved by a song because of the key it was in?
Not because the key is in that.
No, it's what is it? It's the message of the song or the emotion of how it's being sung to you. You know, it's that I think we connect with a lot more than whether it's that high note is an A or a G. I've never got that. I think we want intensity, don't we? I think it's the intensity.
Exactly. And that's what I've learned as well, that I don't go by like head voice, falsetto, vocal fry or anything anymore. I just go by like, am I going to do it with a thick fold or I'm going to do it with a thin fold? And that kind of, mindset.
That's an interesting, I mean, that's like you've replaced one idea with another, but is that to promote how much energy, how much vibration you're using?
For me, it's just how much intensity. Yeah. And on that day, am I like, oh, am I going to do this in a thick fold? I'm going to do it in a thin fold. Because it's like, am I going to really do it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so it's like, am I going for the belt or am I going for the sort of
for the
easier
kind of
option?
The
plan B.
But you can still make it sound very good because, do you know what I mean? The Weeknd does it. He's a prime example. He's got it dialed in because I'm quite an intense person. I don't know if you realise.
I've noticed this.
Yeah, you probably will. And my friends say that's what we love about you. You always like motivate us to do things. And you like, when I used to live with my producer friend, he's gone on to be really, really successful. He was like, mate, I miss your wake up call at 7 a.m. to be like, let's go and get life, man. And it was like, I've missed that. You know, and that's kind of me, really. I'm quite intense, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but at the end of the day, it's just me.
It's just you. You can only do you. You just do you.
You know what I mean? So My wife hates it as well. She's like, why are you so energetic in the morning? She's like, I'm just coming around and you're like, let's go out the door. And I'm like, yeah, I just can't help it.
So you're a lark. You see, I'm a night owl. I'm probably more like your lovely wife, but a night owl, a lark in the morning is like are you kidding me?
That's it. That's what she's like. She's like, why can't you just be like miserable like everybody else? I'm like, I just can't do it.
Yeah.
You know? Even if the kids have kept us up, I'm still bum.
Yeah.
I'm awake.
That's great. You're on a mission. So look, last question. What does vocal freedom mean to you? What's vocal freedom to you?
Okay, so vocal freedom to me is being able to achieve the goal that you have for your voice in as many ways as you feel like you need to. Okay.
Yeah, so you've got choices.
Yeah, that's freedom, isn't it?
Yeah.
Choice. Freedom of choice.
Freedom of choice.
Because you're not like pigeonholed to one thing. Like for me now, I don't need to belt everything. If I'm singing Bon Jovi always, I don't need to go, Rah! You know what I mean? I can just do it if I want to.
Yeah.
And then what I like is going through the options. I love that now. I've never been able to do that. And now I sit there, I'm learning something, I'm like, let's try this with that. Oh yeah, maybe this. Oh, does that sound better? And that's wicked. Yeah. That's absolutely wicked. To me, that's freedom for me, obviously.
That's wonderful. That's really
freedom,
good.
In a nutshell, is what anyone wants it to be for them.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
It's what anyone wants it to be for them.
And also, I think that's the thing of that making that connection with your voice is also about making that connection with your inner critic.
Yeah, and it should be absent of judgment.
Yeah. Yeah, we can just look at it for what it is. Okay, that didn't quite go to plan, so I'm going to try it a different way. Let's see what we can do with that. And that's
is fine.
Much better place to work from as well, rather than just getting frustrated and, it won't work.
That was me before.
It's lots of singers, believe me.
It's before you start lessons, that's what people, like, I've been coached by, like, they would say, you need to see the push harder. I'm like, well, where?
Yes.
Where am I pushing harder? Do you know what I mean? Oh, you need to use your diaphragm more. And then every time you use your diaphragm more, it cuts your throat off. And I'm going, well, that don't work, does it? I'm squeezing everything I've got down into my diaphragm and it's gone. Yeah. So, it's, that's what freedom is to me, being able to use your voice in the way that you want to.
Perfect answer. Absolutely perfect. Thank you so much. So thank you so much for being a brilliant guest. We will have Curtis back on the show, ladies and gents, towards the end of our Reset and Manifest work. So we can actually then have a chat about whether any of this work had an impact on your daily life.
Cool.
You never know.
You never know.
There might be some stuff there that has an impact on your MS.
Exactly.
That would be amazing.
We'll see.
We will certainly see.
Awesome.
Okay, amazing. So thank you very much.
Cheers, Lee.
No worries. Thank you for joining me on the Vocal Freedom Podcast. I hope you've enjoyed the episode and will move into your day with a bit more vocal freedom, feeling that you can express using your voice and let the world hear what you have to say. Visit colchestervoiceacademy.com/podcast. Sign up to be kept informed as new episodes are published and consider joining our online community. Membership to this will allow you to post questions to our guests, link you to show notes, social media links, and entitle you to exclusive offers from our guests. See you next time.